you for the successful close of the 24-25 school year. We blinked, and now we're back here. Same place, same time, same room, some of the same people, to launch the 25-26 school year with energy, enthusiasm, celebration. And yet as we do that, we are mindful that there are places in our state where they are opening school with a shadow that impacts their excitement around a new year. And we just have to pause and lift those districts suffering impact from the July 4th floods to your throne. We ask that you be with them, that you provide the comfort and the peace surrounding those families and those schools where there's been loss. We thank you for the champions and the heroes that rose in the midst of that event, especially school districts immediately sending buses and other resources, transporting campers and counselors to safety. We thank you for all that has come together in those communities to lift them from what they have endured. Tonight, as we get ready to kick off this new year, we just ask that you be close to all students, employees, and the community who come together with a great vision about the work to be done. We thank you that we are a partnering community surrounding our school district with a desire to make it not just good, but great. We pray for our trustees as they give of their own resources and as they give of their time with their families, that you would bless them for it. We pray you would give them wisdom as they kick off this year, not just for the normal things they have to do, the regular work, the routine work, but also for the policies they have to write and the changes they have to make to incorporate the recent work by our Texas legislature. Help them to explain it among themselves and to their inside constituents, so that they can in turn explain it to the community at large. Some of it is going to take some ironing. Tonight, we just ask your blessing on all that needs to transpire. We're grateful to you for our school district and for all it means as a part of the fabric of this community. We love you. We love this community, and we love our school district. These are big asks, but you are a big God. For your glory and your purposes. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Blue. Next, we will have our Pledge of Allegiance, and tonight it will be led by Walker Brown, Blair Brown, Berkeley Brown, and Annie Brown from Spring Garden Elementary.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you so much. If you'll stay here for just a second, we're going to talk about you for a second, and we have something for you.
Before I introduce these four, some of you probably know who they are. I want to just make note that in the summer, during the school year, we ask students from all around the district to come in and lead the pledge. But during the summer, when our students are not in school, we ask for our students that are related to board members. And so these four lovely children are the children of Chris and Megan Brown, and I want to introduce them. Walker Brown is a bright and thoughtful fifth grader whose love for science and critical thinking shines both in and out of the classroom. A proud Quest member and true baseball expert, Walker impresses us daily with his curiosity and passion for learning. Thank you, Walker. Blair Brown is a creative and academically driven second grader who is not only an exceptional writer, but also a natural leader among her peers. Her imagination and innovation inspire everyone around her. Thank you, Blair. Berkeley Brown is a kindergartner with a big heart and even bigger dreams. Whether she's lending a hand to her teacher or cheering up a friend, Berkeley's compassion stands out. We imagine her future as both a teacher and a fashion designer. We'll believe she'll be amazing at both. And last but not least, Annie Brown is our enthusiastic and affectionate pre-K student. She is known for giving the best hugs, and Annie is ready for school and keeps up with her older siblings with confidence and grace. We cannot wait to have her at Spring Garden every day in just a few weeks. These 4 students remind us of why we do what we do each day. They are curious, caring, and full of promise, and we're honored to have them as Spring Garden Cougars.
Perfect.
Tonight, the Board of Trustees is meeting in a regularly scheduled monthly meeting to officially act on the items included on the posted agenda. The Board welcomes and values input from the community. A single open forum will be provided during tonight's meeting to allow the public the opportunity to address the Board. During this time, individuals may share comments or requests related to both agenda and non-agenda items. Those addressing the Board are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes per meeting. The speaker should identify their name, group affiliation, if any, and make a brief presentation with an identified solution if one is sought. Remarks should be addressed to the Board as a whole. Oral presentations may not include charges against any employee or board member by name. It is my responsibility to determine if the person addressing the Board has attempted to resolve a concern informally or through the district's complaint policies. If not, the speaker will be directed to follow the appropriate policy. The Board requests that all presentations be made in a courteous, respectful, and professional manner, and asks that speakers monitor their own behavior. If you wish to speak during the open forum, please fill out one of the cards located on the table in the entry hall. So, for anyone who's here, this is one of the changes that the legislature made. We now only have one open forum, and it's at the beginning of the meeting, and you're allowed to speak about agenda items or non-agenda items. So if you came here tonight expecting to talk at the end of the meeting, it's actually going to be at the beginning. So the cards are out on the table in the entry hall if you need to fill one out. All right, next we will review the board activity chart. And I'll start with Dr. Began.
Yeah, so there are a lot of great events that we go to. Just a couple that I was fortunate enough to attend was the groundbreaking ceremony at Midway Park, which was very, very exciting to see that get underway, as well as the New Professionals Luncheon, where we got to welcome all of those new people who are going to work incredibly hard to take care of our kids.
Mr. Campos.
Not to repeat anything, I just want to highlight, I got the opportunity to go to the Anatole and to see and honor the PTA's best of the best superintendent, very charismatic, wonderful individual, which happens to be our very own Dr. Joe Harrington.
Ms. Cole.
I would like to highlight a couple of things that happened at the TASB Summer Leadership Institute. There, we attended, several of us attended in both locations in San Antonio and Fort Worth, and we as a board made a couple of presentations. The first one that we did in both locations was on on teaching other districts how to become a district of lifesavers. And we presented, Dr. Harrington and I presented along with some folks from the American Heart Association, and that was a well-attended session. Then in Fort Worth only, we had a very, very special session called Positive Impact, How Comfort Dogs Have Made a Difference in School. And so Carrie McCarty from Bell Manor Elementary and Shannon Gaunt brought Baxter and Bear, and we had both comfort dogs at the convention and presenting to school board members on having comfort dogs in schools, and it was it was my favorite presentation of all time. And then I'll leave a couple of things for Mr. Romero to talk about, but I wanted to mention that in addition to attending the new professionals luncheon, also attended the coaches luncheon, and I wanted to thank Mike Fielder and his staff for putting that on every year for our coaches. Gosh, if there was a way that we could feed them more often for all the hours that they put in, but at least once a year we get to pat them on the back and thank them for all that they do.
All right, Ms. Hewitt.
I also want to commend our coaches in this district for all the extra work that they do and time that they put in for all of our kids. The luncheon is always a fun event to attend. I've had the opportunity to attend it as a coach, as an administrator, and now as a board member. So it's always fun to see those folks and know how much extra effort they put in, and I'm glad we can do that for them each year. However, I know Mr. Fielder did feed them pasta before he made them sit there for at least a 2-hour meeting. So I'm not really sure how good of an idea that was, but I think they all made it.
All right, as Dr. Blue mentioned, this is the beginning and kickoff season for a new year. So we started a leadership symposium, which is where all of our administrators get together for their first day back at school, I think, and get their training started. And we also had the new professionals come together. So that's all of our new teachers and new professionals in the district come together to start their year all at the same time in one meeting. And I had the opportunity to represent the board and just say some words of welcome to both those groups. So that happened since the last meeting. And we also were able to host, as a district, we hosted DCI Dallas, which was a huge event with the Drum Corps International. For those who don't know Drum Corps or marching band, this is kind of the big leagues. This is where all the kids who were good in high school go into college, and then the best of those make it into DCI, and they start competing around the country. And it's a pretty big event. We had 11 groups here. I believe there were 26 or closer to 2,900 tickets sold. There were close to 6,000 people total if you count all the performers at the event. And the two booster clubs from the two high schools each got to help run the parking operation, and each high school band made $5,000 off the event. So that's good news, and it sounds from all indications like they're planning on coming back and hopefully making it an even bigger event next year. So that's exciting. Dr. Harrington, any comments?
I did want to share one update. We had an issue with some agenda item attachments not moving over into the consent. It was fixed, but I just wanted to make sure everyone knows that we are trying to figure out what happened. So we've had some crazy things with this software, and we'll work on that, but Ty was able to hand connect them this morning. But these are all items you had seen when they were listed as agenda items. For some reason, it just didn't carry over into the consent agenda, but the agenda item was fine. It was the attachment. So I just wanted to give you that update. The other piece, and we keep hearing about the legislative, the 89th legislative laws that have been passed. The one piece that I want to make sure everybody understands, the commissioner has put out a calendar of updates on the 89th legislative session, and the updates are going to be going through 2026. For some of these things, these are things that the public and the parents would expect to know immediately, but the volume of changes this year is so immense the commissioner cannot even keep up. And so you're going to see things across this year that may seem last minute, and not to avoid responsibility, but that isn't us. So we're going to do the best we can to get information out as quick as we can, but there is an immense amount of work that needs to be done before it even comes to us. And so this is going to be, a lot of things are going to be updated throughout the year. And so I just wanted to share that and let everybody know that.
All right, any clarifications?
None at this time.
All right, we're ready for open forum number 1. No cards? Okay, then let's get into an action item. Consider approval of naming 6 facilities.
Good evening, President Romero, members of the board, Superintendent Harrington, and honored guests. I would like to ask Athletic Director Mike Fielder and Vice President Julie Cole to join me at the podium. Tonight, we are very excited to bring a recommendation to you that has been reviewed by our Board of Trustees Subcommittee, our administrators, and our Campus Legacy Committees. We gather to recognize 6 extraordinary individuals who have made a lasting impact on students, families, and the future of HEB-ISD. These honorees embody the spirit of servant leadership, unwavering dedication, and a shared commitment to excellence that defines our community. Each of these remarkable people have given not just their time, but their hearts. Through years of tireless service, advocacy, mentorship, and support for the students and schools of HEB. Their contributions have enriched our extracurricular programs, empowered learners, and strengthened the very fabric of our district. This evening, we honor their legacy of education and their steadfast belief in the potential of every student. I would like Mike Fielder to begin our presentation.
Good evening, trustees. What a very special night it is. Here in HEB, we're proud of the rich history of success in our athletic programs, a tradition built on the shoulders of many great coaches, both past and present. Tonight, we honor to bring forward 5 of the very best in our district's history. These coaches built exceptional programs, accumulated numerous victories and championships, and earned well-deserved recognition and respect, not just locally or regionally, but from across the state and in many cases across the country. But more important than the wins and the trophies, these 5 individuals were, and in Debbie's case are, as she's still in the fight, transformational. They didn't just coach their sport, they coached the whole child. They invested in shaping lives and preparing young people for success beyond the field or the court or the gym. Their why was clear: to positively impact students at every opportunity and to prepare them for life. And for that, we are most grateful. Tonight, we respectfully bring forward the following names for recommendation for you to consider. This is rolling. Moses Reese for the tennis center, and Coach Reese had a great deal of success, a lot of championships up there from 71 to 2000, and we would like for the facility to be the Moses Reese Tennis Center. Coach Reese, if you would. If you would, please introduce your family.
All right. I've got my grandson, Carson Green, my daughter, Kathleen Green, and her husband, Curtis Green.
Very good. Thank you, Coach. For the future Trinity Tennis Facility, we recommend that it be named the Cal Hopkins Tennis Center. And we lost Cal in 2017, but Sharon, Cal's wife, is here. Sharon, where are you? Sharon's right there. Would you like to introduce your family?
This is Brad, and he's at Trinity, actually, and this is Amy, and I'm glad they could come tonight.
Yes, very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. One thing to note, Coach Hopkins was actually the first tennis coach at both high schools. He was the first tennis coach at Bell, and then later was the first tennis coach at Trinity, and like Coach Reese, had a great deal of success. We would like to have the LD Bell Raider Ball renamed the Tim Edwards Raider Ball. Coach Edwards was the head football coach at LD Bell for 19 seasons, 10 district championships. In 82 and 86 had really deep runs and just really did an outstanding job while here. And I saw Coach Edwards. Hello, Coach Edwards. I'm doing well, doing well.
I told your principal 20 years, loading them 2 buses, getting them on time, never got a penalty. This old age just kicked you. That Hopkins girl was the prettiest teenager, Smo, and she's even more beautiful now. But these guys were just a joy to work with, and Mike, I appreciate the board taking their time and doing this. This is very, very special, Coach Lineweaver, to a lot of families and a lot of people that will cherish that. I told my family that how to come, and they said, Dad, we can't follow you, and they were right, but they'll be whatever when we have to do.
Absolutely.
That guy right there, he'd buzz me to death to get in the game. I look around, and lo and behold, he ends up starting the last 3 games, the quarterfinals, semifinals, and the state championship. We love you, Mike.
Thank you, Coach. We would like to recommend the existing Trinity football field be renamed Steve Lineweaver Field. Coach Lineweaver secured 3 state titles while at Trinity, and his resume, his coaching resume is second to none throughout the state, and obviously put Trinity football on the map nationwide. So, Coach Lineweaver, would you like to introduce some folks or say hello?
The current head coach at Trinity High School, my son. I'm so proud that my grandson, Mac, will be playing Trinity football this year, and I'm nervous. But he's working so hard, it's going to be special. Could I say something?
Certainly.
Thanks for giving me a chance. Tim Edwards, this is about you, bud. 1982, oh my goodness. Coach, you remember, Coach Dibble. Quick story, Trinity was playing Bell in the playoffs. This is the second game that we played. We never played to each other twice in 1 year, but we both advanced in the playoffs. And the NFL was on strike, so all the fans were coming to watch our game at Texas Stadium. Oh my goodness. It was so exciting. By the way, they beat us again. But we advanced in the playoffs. Cowboy said, sorry, I had to look at notes. I was hoping y'all would let me talk. Huge crowd. I was an assistant coach. Well before the game, I was just walking field. I came kind of by Coach Tim Edwards. I walked close by him, and he shared with me, this is what I want to share with you, this peaceful thought in this energetic, high, intense game. He said, "You know, Coach, someday we'll be in heaven together, fishing on the bank of a beautiful pond." Yep, Coach Edwards, I'm looking forward to that now, even more as it getting, on down the line. I've been practicing with my 7-year-old grandson. I'll remember that.
And the 24-hour fitness center that we purchased a while back, our recommendation is it be the Debbie Williams Activity Center. And Debbie is in year 50 and still coaching girls gymnastics at LD Bell, and obviously has just a tremendous resume of championships and of impacting kids. Debbie?
I'm very blessed to have quite a bit of family here. This is my daughter Cass, and her husband, Joey. They both went to Bell, actually. Neither did gymnastics, but tried, played at it. These are her twins, Brock and Bryant. They're baseball players. And Hudson, who is wonderful, musically talented, and someday you're going to see him on Broadway. And this is my son, Chris Williams, and his wife, Lindsay, and their son, Liam. And, of course, my Dibble family, but they're family. That's my sister from another mother. I have been very blessed to work in this district. When I was first hired to coach at Bell, I only hoped that I could live up to the hype that my father-in-law, who recommended me, Emery Ballard, to Hoot Smith. And Hoot, of course, you all know, was such a great, he was the first one to take on a gymnastics program. We were the first gymnastics high school at LD Bell. And Hoot knew not only the importance of it being in high school, but also that it was such a motor development program. So we were so fortunate to have all the coaches who put their children in our program, and I feel like that my goal was to, well, let me say, I wanted to coach longer than Emil Milam, who was a great mentor to me. And so he coached 25 years at Bell, and I think I made it.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
So wanted to make sure that the program continued to be what he had developed and to be successful. And so that's what's mainly driven me, were the people that put me in this position. I wanted to live up to what they expected.
Very good. Thank you. I believe a common thread of those five, I believe Hoot Smith hired all five of you, if I'm right? With the construction of the new high schools underway, I anticipate returning in the future with additional recommendations once those athletic facilities are complete. I should also mention that Christine Cumberledge will be bringing forward naming proposals related to visual and performing arts at a later time. It is now my pleasure to turn it over to Ms. Cole for a very special recommendation.
Before we move away from the coaches, I don't know if Coach Reeves got a chance to say what he wanted to say.
Coach Reeves?
I've got a blessed family myself. I've got a wonderful son-in-law and a wonderful daughter, and I've got another granddaughter. She is a lawyer in Austin, and my grandson here was Aggie. For 40 straight games, he started in the SEC.
Wow.
Made all SEC his senior year, and made it to the Houston Texans, and was on their practice squad for a year. And then he tore up his knee, or he'd still be up there right now. So I'm very proud of my whole family.
Well, Coach Fielder did a good job of bringing notes, which I did not do, so you'll have to bear with me. I'm going off the cuff here. We purchased a building over off of Highway 10 as a board about, I don't know, a year ago now. And when we decided what we were going to do with that building, it is going to be the building where if you are a student or a family in this district and you need support or services, everything that you need will be there. The clothes closet will be there. All the folks that help our students to succeed, and all the homeless, social workers, and all the necessary services for our most needy students and families will be in this building. And when we decided as a board that that's what we were going to put in that building, it made absolute sense to everyone that it needed to be named for a former school board member who embodied all of those things, all of the traits and characteristics of someone who cares about others. And so we would like to name the Family Support Center the Faye Ballou Family Support Center. Faye served this district on this school board for 26 years. Now, Debbie, I don't know that I'm going to do this for 26 years. I'm on year 13 now. I got a ways to go. But I will say from day one on this school board, I have said someday I want to be like Dr. Faye Ballou. So hopefully I'll get there at some point. I've got a long way to go. But I will tell you that in addition to the 26 years serving on the HEB ISD Board of Trustees, she also served as a director for the Texas Association of School Board for 10 years and was the TASB president for the entire state of Texas in 2013, 2014. We're honored to have had her serve this district in so many ways, and her name on this building is perfect.
Introduce my husband, Walt, who is here with me tonight. He's put up with my shenanigans for 46 years. Don't ask him about that. I am so honored with this award because that's the story of who I am. I worked for United Way for right at 20 years. Starting there after my youngest got into 8th grade and we figured our kids were at a place where they could fly. What I did for United Way was to supervise the programs in the community that have to do with community investment. Not just investment of money, but investment of resources. To do for the whole county the kinds of things that this district finds partners to do for our students. And it was a joy to serve in that capacity. I'm a firm believer that you can do almost anything if you get the right people in the room. Get them shaking hands and finding ways to locate their piece of the puzzle. And it was my job to bring them together so they could figure that out. Thank you, board. This blesses my heart more than I could ever tell you. Thank you.
So if you will please join me one more time in celebrating all 6 of these individuals who have truly inspired all of us. So we will be creating a permanent plaque for each location that will be placed either inside or outside based on the location. And we will be doing that in the future. And yes, we will have some type of ceremony when that is done. So if you would allow me, if the honorees would make their way to the foyer, we want to take some pictures of you
Not
with
yet,
your
we
family.
still got to vote.
Vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
All right, board, we're on item 5.01, consider approval naming of 6 facilities. Are there any comments? I will accept the motion.
I move that the board approve the naming of 6 facilities as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that the board approve the naming of 6 facilities as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. Congratulations.
Okay, now will the honorees join me outside for some photos? Thank you so much.
At this time, the board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to Opens Meetings Act, Texas Government Code. Sorry, I'm off the right one. Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, the board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to Section 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.076.
Let me know if you need anything else.
No big feelings at all.
That faithful time. See what you say. How's it going? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for all your service. How's it
It was, everything I was born It can almost be a checkbox. Romance. I do. I'll tell you next time. So she was part of the first step. So she was coming to me and she was like, how are we supposed to pay for it? And I was like, I guess you better go to every school. Pretty sure. So they did some stuff, basically that year with that.
All right. Adobe.
There's no,
After living the board meeting, I was real excited to watch them again, so the fact that she said I need to do that, it's like, okay, that's the piece I'm just.
yes. And when you had to ask us to it, and then pretend you're so with you, try to get the information.
I was frustrated with Kendall.
Oh, yeah, well, it was that, but
Danny and I listened to it. She's
I know, the things that come out of our mouths when that stuff drops out. I was yelling at the TV about that last night. But imagine that. But go watch it, just because it was such a, I thought it was an important. And they were all.
Yeah, well, so.
The task force and everything.
So I had a billions of dollars out of budget, millions of dollars.
What's the matter here?
That's right.
All the people just left. At this time, the board will reconvene into open session. We are to consent items. Does any board member have any consent item they'd like removed from the agenda? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the consent agenda as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. All right, we are ready for reports and presentations. 9.01, employment, resignations, and retirements. Ms. Tuttle?
Just wanted to give you a brief update. I shared an update on in our Thursday update, but that has even changed since then. So we currently have 6 teacher vacancies in the district, and all 6 of those are in secondary. We have hired 263 teachers. We've hired 47 non-teaching professionals, and we've hired 88 teacher assistants for a total of 398. So we're in a good spot, and we're continuing to look for individuals to fill those remaining positions. We are working on even some educators in training that we can hire. So wanted you to have that update.
That's really good, Cicely. Thank you, Cicely. Revisions to board DNA regulation, performance appraisal evaluation of teachers.
So as we prepare to begin our data collection or data validation year for teacher incentive allotment for TIA, one of the things we needed to do prior to the start of the 25-26 school year is to update our board policy regarding teacher appraisals. And so the local policy, the changes that you see that we're bringing forward for your approval tonight, are removal of any reference to or description or definition of a less than annual appraisal. As you already know, part of the very important data validation will be doing those appraisals annually. And so we've removed all references to that. And then we've also updated the process that's already in place where a teacher, any teacher, can request a second appraisal from an outside appraiser if they have a question or concern about their appraisal. And that's the approved list you approved at the last board meeting. This will update that to indicate that the first appraisal will be at a 50% weighting and the second appraisal will be at a 50% weight. We have in the past had that at a 60-40, which makes it very difficult for that second appraisal to really have momentum if there is something that's different. And so as we prepare and move forward, we're changing that to a 50-50. Are there any questions about this policy?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Cicely. 9.03, 2025 STAR and EOC Comparison District Report. Dr. Norgard?
Good evening. How are you all doing? All right. I know you're super excited because we have some data to talk about. I am bringing tonight our STAR and EOC Comparison Districts report. So you've already seen our STAR data, but how do we stack up? So this is going to be related to our strategic plan in the area of student success. And an important thing to keep in mind, every other report I bring you throughout the year, we're measuring against ourselves. You know, are we up or down? Did we have that green arrow? Yes, that's more than we had last year, or that cohort went up, or there was a little bit down. We need to concentrate in that area. This is a very different kind of report, so we kind of have to set our minds to go, okay, It's not just up or down from last year, it's what is our relative position to our comparison districts. So these are our districts that we've identified, some because they're close to us geographically, others because they're doing some things that we want to have our eyes on. So these are the groups that we compare ourselves to. But just as we talk about with ERG, and truly as part of the state accountability system, we need to temper those comparisons. There are a lot of ways we could stack and order districts. For this report, we are looking at the percent of economically disadvantaged. That's what we do with ERG, et cetera, because how that can be connected to performance in some way. So it's not an alphabetical list. This list, each table that we go through is going to be in order, starting on the left with the highest percentage of economically disadvantaged and moving over. So these are the districts we'll be looking at. And so instead of red or green arrows compared to how we did last year, we're the measuring stick here. So I'm going to call your attention to the HEB data, and then the red and green has to do with who's above or below us. Okay, so it's just a little different look to the charts. I do have tables for everything, but I think the visuals are probably a little more helpful. But here you can see our third grade performance. And again, Birdville and Eagle Mountain Saginaw would be the two closest to us when you're ordered by economically disadvantaged. So you will see really throughout this presentation that we are exceeding both of those, which is why we have other districts in our comparison as well. We've got to keep pushing and what comes next and what are we looking for. So in third grade, when we look at reading language arts, so here's your visual. We now have these clusters. So the table was in order by percent economically disadvantaged. This is just who's doing it best. So you see it approaches Katy at the top. You see HEB in green, and then the state measure is there in orange, just to benchmark that. We're above the state always. The longer we have students, the more we spread out that gap. You see, as we get with older grades, we're more like double-digit separation from the state. But we've had some times that our green bar gets a little too close to that state bar, and we're like, okay, what's happening? What are we going to be doing with our students? So I will tell you that there are some patterns here that you're going to see in third, and fourth, and fifth grade language arts. It's approaches where we're getting awfully close to the state, or the state's coming close to us, one or the other, where you see our meets and masters staying right there in the middle of the pack or moving up. So we need to be thinking about how are we growing? All of those students. You know, we've had conversations before. We can't, when we're looking at growth for all of our kids, we can't just pay attention to our struggling. It's how does everybody grow? Our data is telling us in language arts, elementary in particular, we're doing a great job getting those masters and meets those kids. We're continuing to push at those levels. We need to be sure we've got our eyes on everybody and continue to find that separation. In math, we're pretty much right in the middle of the pack, and this is true across elementary, third, fourth, and fifth. You'll see us in almost every case. 4 of those comparisons are above us and 4 are below us, and we have moved our position up from the state. So here's our fourth grade, the red and green. So you see not just the ones closest to us, but you see a couple of districts that have, roughly half of our percent economically disadvantaged, and our scores, we are outperforming those districts and really at several levels, performance levels. But here you see, just like with third grade, it's that approaches in our reading that is very close to the state. So we have already done a root cause analysis at Leadership Symposium. Our ELA coordinator and facilitator met with principals who had also said they wanted to focus on language arts at their schools to look for our root cause, doing our 5 whys systems, and have a plan. And it will be in both those campus improvement plans and the department improvement plan for language arts. So we are focusing on that concern. Fourth grade math, this is a real celebration right here in the middle, but also that we are starting to separate ourselves again from the state. We had a couple of spots last year where we were sitting just right there with the state. So we are starting to increase that separation. In fifth grade, you see this time Mansfield also has more of the red, a little closer to us in percent economically disadvantaged, but you'll see that same pattern. We're going to look at approaches in language arts that we're working our plan, and in math right there at the middle of the pack, and again separating ourselves from the state. Then we have science. Science, we are also middle to upper in our comparisons at fifth grade science. Fifth grade science is one we've been watching throughout the year. We had new TEKs, new instructional materials. They had an overlap test this year where they only tested things that were in both the old and the new TEKs. Next year there's a new test. In fact, they're not even calling it grade 5 science. It'll be elementary science because they are being very overt that it's third, fourth, and fifth grade TEKs that'll be on that test. Always has been, but renaming it to further clarify all the grade levels that are important for this test. Then sixth grade, and there's a lot of red on this one. And compared to when we're comparing to ourselves, I don't like slides with a lot of red, but here it's like, we're doing something different. And one of the things we do differently at sixth grade is our grade configuration. By still having sixth grade at elementary as opposed to middle school. Most middle schools, like our junior highs, have 45 to 50-minute class periods. Our students are still getting 90 minutes of language arts and math, because that's the way we are able to work the schedule at elementary, and we're seeing that with our students. They understand sixth grade solidly. And in fact, I'm going to show you when we get to math, we had a change in math. You may or may not recall, I talked to you early last year about new legislation, actually from the last legislative session, but it went into effect during the 24-25 school year, where we needed to put more students into that sixth grade add-back math class. It was any student that performed at the level of the top 40% of students in the state. Well, we've always been above the state, so when you look at that cutoff point, that put 55% of our students. We usually had roughly a third, and we have over half of our students were in sixth grade advanced math this year, and we improved. So that was really great. So here is language arts. Language arts at our secondary grades last year was one of our few areas that we had bigger gains, while some others were holding their own or the small dips, and this time they came back down a little bit, but still right there in the middle of the pack. So, but we always want to watch whenever there's movement in a direction we don't want to see. But here is that sixth grade math. So not only do we put more students in, when we set the expectation here, they rose to it. So only Pearland beating us. Then we look at seventh grade. Seventh grade, historically, when you look at our math, we are going to be above our comparison districts because districts categorize differently with their advanced math, who's taking which STAR test. Our students are still taking the seventh grade STAR. Some districts, their seventh grade advanced is taking the eighth grade STAR test, so it's who all is in this pool of students. But that's why we also watch our performance over ourselves every year, so that we're checking both benchmarks, taking the temperature both ways. So language arts at seventh grade, around the middle, but seventh grade math out on top by a lot. Eighth grade, our eighth graders take 4 tests. That's a lot of tests, and you see actually a lot of red for districts that we're beating here. So you will see us in the middle to above, a little above the middle at masters for reading. Math, holding steady. This is where for us, we don't have any advanced students taking the eighth grade math STAR. Some other districts, their seventh graders were taking the eighth grade math STAR, so those were advanced students going into those scores. That being said, we have no advanced students, and look at our comparisons, so we are hanging in there. And our science as well, from the middle to moving into the top half for our performance at eighth grade science. Social studies. Only place beating us is Katy from our comparison. So, Grapevine Colleyville it approaches. So we're going to keep our eyes on all of those things and see what else can we be doing. How can we leverage the space that's left? Then we move into our EOCs. We have English 1 and English 2. We are middle to dipping just a little bit below, so we continue to watch all of the intensive writing that happens with both of these tests. But actually at our masters, we are doing well with our comparisons. That's been an area historically. You see that master's bar is still shorter for everybody than it was at some of those other subject areas. In algebra, still doing very well, but we did slip a little bit from last year, so we've got our eyes on that. We are looking closely at our algebra. we're still pretty high up there in those comparisons, but we know we've been even higher before. So we will continue to be working a plan with Algebra 1. And in biology, you can see right there around the middle, a little above the middle at Masters. And finally, U.S. history. This is where comparisons get really tight, especially at approaches. There's not a lot of wiggle room. A change of 1% could drop you, 5 places because there's a 4-way tie or something for all the students that are performing really well. So we'll continue to work and refine our processes at U.S. history. Do you have any questions about any of that data?
My only question is about, in the ERG data, a lot of these districts would never even be our comparison districts. But do we know where the cutoff is in that ERG data as far as the economically disadvantaged?
You know it? Yes. So there is no cutoff. ERG is based on the top 200 largest districts. And so that's why when we see the quadrants, it's the top 200 versus everyone.
Got it, thank you.
But we have those 40 districts that we have our comparison districts for state accountability. And I do think it was funny because one of the first comments Liz Schrader made, we sent her our comparison districts, and she goes, "You do know these aren't your comparison districts." And we're like, we know. Yeah, because we want to compare with districts that are performing in a place that we want to perform.
Yeah, ERG does a statistical analysis of every district based off of their most liked districts and how they compare to those districts, and then they place them that way.
Yeah, they map them all out across that. They look at are you above. They map them all out, your performance, looking at your low income, and then they're looking for the deviations from that line.
Right. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? I think it's great just watching these numbers as we get further and further down the line, how we just keep moving up. I think it says a lot of things about how our teaching's working and how our curriculum's working, and the longer kids stay with us, the better they're going to do. So,
Definitely. Thank you.
All right, 9.04, end of year strategic plan reviewed. Dr. Johnson?
Good evening. So I love the fact that I get to come right behind Dr. Norgard, because she just talked about achievement, and then the question was based upon how we perform. And so we're consistently bringing you achievement and performance because for us, growth matters. And that's the work of our district. So the strategic plan overall is the work of our district, and we've been bringing you updates on these final status measures as we go along. So what you see here today is the final. We still have a few outstanding items that will be released in the fall, and when that information is released, we already have it structured to bring to you as part of our normal board presentation agenda. But it starts with the fact that every organization is perfectly aligned for the results that they're getting. If you take two 10-0 teams and they're going to compete against each other, strength of schedule matters. And so one of the things, I just want to give a nod to Dr. Harrington, because one of the things that he continues to teach us is that the goal is the goal. And when we set blue sky, if we don't reach that goal, then we didn't reach that goal. And so what did we learn from it? What are we going to do about it? And we develop action steps, smart action steps, and then we take those next action steps. So what we have in our strategic plan is blue sky, really difficult goals that we believe are going to continue to move us up to the right and tight with ERG, as well as improve the achievement that Dr. Norgard just presented. So I just wanted to bring up that difference, because we can set goals and you can see all green, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we actually did anything, because we never pushed ourselves to start with. And we really have pushed ourselves, and that's at your direction with some of the things that you said you wanted to see in the strategic plan. So before we get started, I wanted to kind of talk about And I can already see from, there's some formatting issues that didn't carry over in PowerPoint. But the approaching target should be the purple dot, and then the below target is a red dot, and then baseline is a black dot. But let me just talk about these targets. So if something was measured below target, it was, what that means is that we did not achieve or grow above the 2023-24 actual, and then this year's 24-25 actual. So we missed the mark in last year's and this past year's. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's below target. Approaching target is we didn't meet this year's goal, but we improved over the 23-24 school year. So we still made gains, but we didn't reach the goal that we had. And so we're approaching that target. And then meeting the target is that we have met the target and we are good in both areas, the 2023-24 and the 24-25 school year actual. So to start out with student success, we have quality indicator 1, the academic rating of the district, and Dr. Norgard just presented a little bit of information about where we stand in comparison. We won't get the full information until what is now being told to us August 13th is when they will release that information to us for 2024 A through F, and then 2025 A through F. And that will be released to the public on August 15th. So we'll have that data, which will be in your Friday update, and we'll bring that data to you in a board meeting afterwards as well. You've heard the conversations about attendance and quality indicator 1.4. And so when we look at our work there, we're still achieving our high attendance rates, but we have some room for growth, and we continue to study that. On the far right side, you see adapt. You see the ACT portion. That is adapt, adopt, or abandon. And this is where the goal champions meet with their areas and review the data and make a determination. Do we recommend that we adopt and we continue forward with this goal? Should we adapt the goal? Because maybe we set a goal, for instance, we want kids to have the opportunity, and it didn't tell us what we wanted it to tell us, and so we want to adapt the language. We want to adapt the measure that we used, and so that's what adapt is. And then abandon is something that we believe that this is no longer worth our time or valid for us to consider. And so that's what that far right column is. When you look at early numeracy, quality indicator 2, there's 2 adaptations, and one of those is in quality indicator 2.2, which is BAS and SEL will go away and be replaced by MAP. And so that's an adaptation that has to happen. And then we set our baseline with the transition this year going to MAP growth. When we look at quality indicator 3, we have a suggestion for adaptation for 3.3, which is 90% or more of special education RDA indicators will receive a rating no greater than 1. We really believe that needs to be 2 because of the way RDA is calculated. We saw some improvement, but according to the way the RDA is calculated, we didn't write the goal to actually show for that improvement, so we want to make that adjustment. And then we set baseline for GT, which we had a great presentation from Cheryl Harris about our GT program, and you can see that we have partially met, we have met, and we have not met there. For CCMR, we had some great gains. Really proud of the work our campuses did with CCMR, and we'll tell you that this really puts us on the clock to try to do the same thing. I can tell you we fell short of that this year because we made such significant gains, but we're within range, and we have our system is set up to continue growth in that area. There's also some CCMR adjustments that we're priming ourselves for because they're coming up with buckets, and we will be ready to make that shift there. An example of one of those questions where does it tell us what we want to know when you look at 4.2, all students will have the opportunity to take an advanced CCMR academic course. Well, before this year, we didn't really know what that was. And so we had to spend some time developing, like, what is an advanced CCMR course? And so, hard work by our team. We have 118 courses that are considered advanced CCMR courses. 59 dual credit, 32 IB, and 27 AP courses. And so this is something we never knew, and now we know. So what do we want to do with this information? And that's some adaptation. What does this mean? How do we go deeper with this information? And that's where we might look at what do our classes look like? Are we getting the right representation of our district within there, within the courses? So do all of our students know economically disadvantaged or not, GT or not, know that these courses are offered? And so those are conversations that we will continue to have.
So, Dr. Johnson?
Yes, sir.
Do any of the advanced courses over at the Buinger count towards this?
No.
Okay.
So 4.3, just make sure, 4.3, this is a little bit of an asterisk because what you see is the last in-progress numbers. These aren't finalized until we finish the summer. And so we believe we're approaching target at worst. We could definitely have met our target by the end of the summer once we get all of those numbers in. But just, again, you see why we see the CCMR numbers because of what's happening in 4.3. Then we have quality indicator 5. We have an adaptation for 5.2. When we think about our teams, we had 20 teams that made postseason, and every 2 years we go through a UIL realignment. And so our coaches could do nothing wrong but for be realigned by UIL and find themselves in one of the toughest districts in the state, where most of the state championship is played prior to even making it out of district or making it out of the region. So that's an area that we want to ask ourselves, what does that really tell us? Is that a cause for concern? Because we see ourselves go from 70% to 46%. Again, not excusing the performance, but giving ourselves an understanding of what's really occurring so that we don't knee-jerk. And then the last thing I want to just call your attention to is 5.6. This was an area that we wanted to start tracking the number of students who had the opportunity to travel across secondary students. Again, we don't know what this means for us, but we wanted to get a baseline of that number and ask ourselves, are we providing as many opportunities as possible so that our kids can travel? And our goal is to get them out of HEB so that they experience something, even if it's Wichita Falls, Waco, Austin, wherever. We want to count those things as experiences, cultural experiences for kids. Next is employee success, and you've heard quite a bit of our work in this area, and I just want to highlight, we got some baselines that have been set, but to have a 96.75 fill rate for all of our positions is astounding, and that's great work by our campuses and our HR department, making sure that we get positions filled and we get those vacancies.
And again, I'll throw a thank you to the board. Moving some timelines really helped and gave us the opportunity to do some of the things that we did accomplish.
Okay, next we have safety and well-being. So here, I want to call your attention to 1.1. Our goal is to be at 100%, and if you recall, there's two reasons that we are not at 100% in this area. One was our repeaters for emergency, our law enforcement. The second was our elementary SROs, which we are in process, and really proud of where we've gotten regarding our elementary SROs. So we finished the school year with 10 elementary SROs. Currently, as it stands right now, we will start the school year with 16, and we are very hopeful that we will gain more as we finish, and so that we'll be able to put an SRO on every campus. So those are the two things that's keeping us at 85% versus moving to 100%. And then the quality indicator 2.1, during ESSER, we had resource nurses that were able to step in and fill the gap to make sure that we had a nurse on campus at all times. Based on the number of days that we were not able to cover with those resource nurses, we were at 85%, and so that is something that impacted that number. Next up, we have effectiveness and efficiency. And so we have done, and with the work of Ms. Martin, we've done a great deal of work trying to make sure that we train our staff regarding our systems approach, ensuring that we've developed the teacher CI self-assessment. And so we took no action on 1.3 here because that work is going to begin this coming school year as we develop our support staff, what their baseline is and what their instrument is. I do want to also call out one thing that, based upon what's happened with the legislature, our goal was to spin down our fund balance, and one of the things Mr. Williams has said is we might want to reconsider that, not knowing the way things are going with the legislature. So we set a goal to go from 9.94 to 7.72 and get ourselves down to, I believe it was around six months. Well, he's thinking we might need to reconsider that. So that's something we're going to really keep an eye on, and we might adjust that goal. As far as the evaluation, improvement, and innovation process, we continue to complete what we call EIIs, and so we completed 4 of those, and we brought that information to you in some of our board updates and our Friday updates. And then we have effective use of technology resources. And so we were below target here. We're 95%. Our goal was 96%, and we ended up at 94%. And so, again, we're not going to lower that goal just so that we can put a green check there. It is what it is, and we'll continue to strive for that goal. And the final category for priority for us is family community partnerships. And again, here's some areas that we need to kind of look at to decide what moving forward looks like. So in 1.3, 90% or more survey respondents will assign the district a positive rating on the annual student survey. K-12 Insight has told us that our response rate is phenomenal. And yet, we still set a goal of 90% and we didn't reach it. So we're just going to continue to set that same goal and get 90% because our goal is 90% across all categories, not just having a lower goal for students. So that's something that we will continue to look at. And then when we look at 2.1, we want to maintain 8,000 or more active volunteers. And so last year, in the 23-24 school year, we were at 6,000. We set a goal for 8,000, and we were at 62,905. Here's why that's even more impressive than it looks. Because what we did to get to 62,905 was we purged all of our roles, and we cleaned it up, and now we have 62,95 people that are registered through Raptor, and we know that they've been on our campus, and this is not an honor system or anything like that. So these are really hard numbers, and so that number probably needs to be adjusted because of what's happened with Raptor. Under our old system, we might find different numbers, and so that's something that we learned from going through this process. We grew in volunteers, and then Campus Champions, we continue to grow there and exceed. So all in all, we have 51 goals. 18 of them were meeting and exceeding. 6 of them were approaching. 7 were below target. 13 baselines were set, and 7 data points will be released in this fall. And that is our breakdown.
Okay. Board have any questions?
Dr. Johnson, have we already set our 2025, 2026 goals?
We are in the process of finalizing those, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I was surprised by the CCMR numbers. I didn't realize we'd already gotten into the 80s, so good work on that. All right, any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Johnson. All right, 9.05, Laserfish Technology Update. Dr. Hopkins.
Good evening. I am very excited to be here tonight to talk to you about Laserfish. So we're going to talk a little bit about our journey with Laserfish. It aligns with our strategic plan, priority student success, and effectiveness and efficiency. So a little more than 2 years ago, Dr. Joe wanted an opportunity to bring something to the district that would help with document management and workflow. And we began to investigate what that might look like for our district. And we came to you several times. We had lots of discussions about bringing Laserfish to the district. And thankfully you guys approved it, and we have had 2 years of strategic growth and implementation with this program. Laserfish isn't one of those programs that we could easily integrate into every department and every program that we have within our district. We had to start slowly and work our way through. So one of the things we did is Human Resources graciously and eagerly volunteered to be our pilot for the program. So I want to take you through a little story of a piece of paper. About 2 years ago, when we wanted to hire a new employee and we wanted to create a new position, we had a piece of paper that we would fill out. And the piece of paper needed to be signed off on by 8 different people. So I would complete my piece of paper and I would walk my piece of paper to the first person that needed to sign it off. They would sign and then walk that piece of paper to the next person and on down the row. And we had a very efficient process for accomplishing these tasks, but it wasn't the most time-effective process that we have. Well, I am happy to report now that that was one of the first documents that we put into our Laserfish system. Now I can complete a form online, hit submit, and it automatically flies to the next person's inbox, and it travels through our system and ends up in Ms. Tuttle's queue so that she can approve it and work it through the human resource process. We don't have to worry about any documents getting misplaced or misfiled or signatures being missed. Not that that happened very often, but it was always, we had to be super diligent to make sure that we were getting our work taken care of. So with Laserfish, we have that system for routing workflows. We have that system for secure document archiving. We're saving time and we're improving efficiency. So for our 2 years of strategic growth, what happens in Laserfish is there is a form that you can complete. And we're going to dive into here in the next few slides all the different forms that we have. But right now, within our 2 years, we have about 2,600 forms that have been submitted. In addition to forms being submitted and completed, like the one I just talked about, we can also upload documents. So one of our intents behind Laserfish was to take a bunch of our student records and our personnel records and to be able to store them digitally in a secure location so we don't have rooms of file cabinets and files, right? So this way, no matter where we are at any time, we can access all of our records and have them at our fingertips. As you can imagine, it's no small task to convert all of our files to digital, but we are working through that process. So right now we have 72,000 files uploaded to repository. 37,000 of those are employees, and we are at 35,000 student records that we have also uploaded. So we are making progress in our work towards our goals. So as we have started with our strategic implementation over the past 2 years, we have been able to expand outside of human resources into discipline and technology. One of the documents on this list that I want to highlight is our bullying investigation form. Now, this form isn't live yet. We are still working out a couple of the details, but it is by far the most integrated document that we have. It has the most workflow processes integrated into the system. And it is an opportunity for assistant principals to document bully investigations. As we know with the law, anytime we have a bully investigation, we have to make sure that we check off a set of requirements for that bullying investigation. By using Laserfish for this, the brainchild of Dr. Johnson, Ms. Rhodes, and Ms. Clark, we're able to ensure that all parties who need to be communicated with are communicated with. Once an assistant principal fills out the form, our social workers are aware, our counselors are aware, our principals are aware, so everybody can have a part and complete their part of the bullying investigation. It allows us to be the most efficient in our practice towards ensuring our students' safety. That form is in its final stages, but it's one that is going to make a big difference in the way that we are able to meet the needs of our students in this district.
Will it be live for this school year?
That's our plan. So in addition, outside of our teaching and learning side, we have used our Laserfish program for payroll. Things listed on the screen such as, oh, I changed banks and I need to update my direct deposit. You can do this through Laserfish. It's routed to the right individual at payroll. Assessment is now using this for parents to complete credit by exam forms or requests for testing, opt-out forms, things of that nature. So it's enabling us to really have great communication with our stakeholders and ease of form completion. Transportation has started to use it for student bus transportation agreements, and then we are starting to use it also for student travel and working through some of those processes. So in the future, we plan to continue to expand our use of Laserfish. We'll continue to upload those employee records and student records into our repository, but we're also looking at creating an attendance documentation form. This would be a QR code that a parent can scan, complete the information about why their student was absent, upload a picture of the doctor's note, and then our attendance clerks can easily start documenting absences and file those notes away without ever having to touch a piece of paper. And our parents don't have to come into the building, produce a document, or hope that their child turns in their doctor's notes. Another thing we're looking at is expanding to other departments such as purchasing, business operations. We'll continue with those students' documentations. And then we are working on analytics to track processing time and identify bottlenecks. We have enough programs now that we're ready to really begin starting to track the effectiveness and efficiency of this program. So what I can say, though, is that Laserfish has really helped us as a district with our processes. It has made us more efficient and effective in the work that we do. It's allowed us to quickly accomplish tasks so that we can focus on our strategic plan and the work that we are trying to accomplish within our classrooms and within our departments. Do you have any questions about Laserfish?
I have a question. Okay, so is this going to take the place of all the so the things that are in students' cumulative files, that the file that goes up into the high school, the massive room that has all these files, eventually all that information will be online?
Yes, for most of it. The things that really truly belong in the cumulative folder are what we are working on putting into Laserfish. We know that we add a couple of other testing documents in there, but yes, our goal would be to get those documents into an online system.
Okay, so I have another question. In regards to the bullying situation, are the assistant principals able to upload any kind of documents as far as like statements and that sort of thing? All of that can be loaded in there too.
It can. Yes. Everything can be in one place so that all parties who need access to it can see it.
So, Dr. Hawk, this looks amazing, and you guys are doing a great job. Not to paint you in a box, but on this slide for future growth, what's your timeline for some of these things?
So we are already starting to have discussions. We started having discussions at the end of last year about our attendance documentation. So that is already in the works. And we've already begun having the conversations with business operations and purchasing as well. For both of those, it's just a matter of fine tuning exactly what they need. With each of these programs, there's a cost to add additional licenses. So we want to make sure that we have a good understanding of exactly what we want to accomplish so we can purchase the right products for them. Student documents, on the other hand, will take time. So what we are working on is anytime a student does register, we are adding them to Laserfish, and then we are trying to get all of our students who are current in enrollment into Laserfish, and then we'll work on figuring out a plan to go back and get our additional documents stored. But that's going to be several years of a process.
So a kindergartner coming in has a folder and it's all going to be in there from day one?
Yes. So all of our registrars have scanners. They're scanning the documents in as they go.
Okay.
So I see here you've got a section on analytics to track processing time and identify bottlenecks. You're going to have a ton of data. Well, you've already got a ton of data, but you're going to continue to have more and more data. Is there any goal to try and integrate that into maybe other areas to see things that may predict bullying, for example? So we talked about the bullying form, or any type of predictive modeling or any of that kind of. Is there any?
We haven't had those discussions yet, but also with Dr. Lauren Allen on staff, she's really great at helping us identify ways to use our data for prediction and correlation. So I think that that's a fabulous idea and something that I can see us working towards in the future.
Great, thanks.
Right now, we're trying to narrow down what are we tracking? What do we need to know so that we know how to track it? Awesome. Well, again, thank you for the opportunity to allow us to use this amazing tool because we've really enjoyed it and embraced the opportunity.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. 9.06, 2025 certified property values as of July 23rd, 2025. Mr. Williams.
Okay, this is a fairly short presentation, but each year we do bring to the board certified property values that are supplied to the district by the Tarrant Appraisal District. They got those values, they sent them out late Wednesday evening, so we effectively had them Thursday morning to start looking at values, working those numbers. What I've put together for you here is the certified property values. This is the summation of those for the current tax year, 2025 tax year, with the $140,000 homestead exemption that, of course, still has to go for a vote in November, which, for all intents and purposes, we all know that will pass. And as such, the state has instructed school districts, cities, everybody to go ahead and use those values at the $140,000 exemption. So comparing that to 2024 values that were at a $100,000 exemption. So you're not really comparing apples to apples, but that's the way they've instructed us to do that. That was different than what they did in the last legislative session when they increased the homestead exemption back then. They had the appraisal districts back then present two sets of values, and then we plugged into the maximum compressed rate, the MCR calculator. They had us plug in the lower values, so it was more of an apple-apple comparison on values. They did not do that this go-around, so therefore, it makes it look like we had a decrease in property values of 3.19% for our estimated net taxable value, which is the value we use for calculating tax rate and running our truth and taxation numbers. So what I did was just to show you what they would have been at the $100,000 exemption. We would have seen a 5.15% increase in net taxable value. And so what that kind of does, I explained to you in the Friday update, basically we will have no tax rate compression that we have seen in prior years because of that. that make sense? Any questions?
No, it's just always amazing because when I got on board 13 years ago, I remember we were approaching $10 billion in value, and now we're over 20 billion.
Yeah. Well, it just wasn't that long ago when we were seeing 14% increases in property value, so. But that has slowed down, for sure.
All right, any questions? Thank you, Dobie. We have just a couple action items. No items were removed from the consent agenda, so 10.02, consider approval of revision to board policy DNA local, performance appraisal, evaluation of teachers.
So this local policy was a little more simple because we truly are just removing anything referring to that one time or that less than annual appraisal. And so it looks much like it did several years ago. We've just redacted those sections. Any questions? Thank
Any
you.
questions on these changes? All right, I'll accept a motion.
I move that the board approve the revisions as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the revisions as submitted. Please vote. That motion passes. 10.03, consider amendment to education consulting agreement for the 2025-2026 school year.
So this item is to add Trinity High School, specifically focus in English 2, to work with TKA Consulting.
All right, any questions? I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the amendment to the 2025-2026 contract with TK Education Consulting as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the amendment to the 2025-2026 contract with TK Education Consulting as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. We're down to other business. Does any board member have any items they'd like to have requested placed on a future board agenda? All right, 11.02, consider approval of the Texas Caucus of Black School Board Members membership. So this is something that we have had a membership in for quite a while. You know, Dawn Jordan Wells was our member, and she has stepped away from the board, but we wanted to discuss continuing our membership in there. Does anyone have any comments?
I spoke to the president of the Texas Caucus of Black School Board Members this weekend at the TASB convention and told her that we were interested in having a current board member join, and she was very happy to hear that and welcomes anyone from our board to join that organization.
All right, does anyone on the board want to volunteer to take that position?
I think this is a great organization, and I'd be happy to serve if the board feels that that would be in the best interest of our students.
All right, any other comments?
Other than that, I think it's absolutely in the best interest of our students. I mean, our population is continuing to grow more diverse, and I think we need to continue to have a presence.
All right, I will accept the motion.
I move that the board approve the membership of Dr. John Began to the Texas Caucus of Black School Board Members at a cost of not to exceed, does that say 100?
It says 100, yeah.
100 to be taken from the board's budget.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the membership of Dr. John Began to the Texas Caucus of Black School Board Members at a cost not to exceed $100 to be taken from the board's budget. Please vote. And that motion passes. We do not need a second closed session, correct? All right, then at this time, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We're adjourned.